Welcome to codeblush. Now we're learning how to write a Rust test. Let's code first, and I'll pause in between to explain what we have written. We'll write a function, then we'll write a test, testing that function. Ready? Let's recap what we did. So, we wrote a function called myfunc. We're calling myfunc here. And by invoking assert equals, we're asserting that passing it 1 will return 2. So basically that the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. The logic that we're testing is in fact only this line of code. We could say that all of the other code here is boilerplate code serving just to instruct the compiler to run that line and tell us about the result. Let's talk about the result for a minute. Let's take a closer look at what's been printed to standard output. It says running one test called test myfunc, this one. The result is okay, which means the left-hand side is indeed equal to the right-hand side. It tells us 1 passed, 0 failed, and so on. Now, let's try to break this test. We know that 1 plus 1 is 2, but let's write 3. Now we're expecting 0 passed and 1 failed printed to standard output. Send it. It fails as expected. It says assertion left equals right failed because the left-hand side gives us 2, but the right-hand side is 3. The compiler knows to format the result in this fancy manner because of this configure test attribute. You probably noticed there's no run button as in the other tutorial. Instead, we have a test button. That's because of this attribute. Attribute syntax is a hashtag in square brackets. In this step, I'm just tidying up a bit, making it less cluttered. It doesn't make a difference if you pass data to assert equals by variable or directly. The logic that our second test is testing is this line of code inside the function body. And I mean, we could also test more logic at once than this one line of code. But basically, it's easier to find bugs through testing if we organize our code into many small functions with cohesive scope. For a function in a library, there should be a test covering every possible outcome of calling that function. This will make sense to you when you learn about conditional statements. But for example, my func2 could have slightly more complex behavior. Let's return only the second word of the string passed as argument. This is the documentation for the split method on string, and here we're going to find the solution to the error that the compiler is throwing. It says, it returns an iterator over substrings. Let's see the example. Actually, this is exactly what we're doing. We're also splitting at the space character. Then we have to consume the iterator by calling its collect method, because we also want to get the resulting substrings in a list type like in this example. That's it. We've learned how to use Rust's test function to test our code and how to solve our bugs by reading compiler errors and documentation. Specifically, we wrote and tested a function that modifies a given string. By the way, tests will execute in the smartphone browser. I tried running our program from the last tutorial on a smartphone, and on that smartphone it didn't work. It wasn't possible to submit user input. Happy hacking!